What's up, guys? We're here at AMC Town Square with Chasing Cinema.
Mr. James Hsu.com. How you not gonna mention our special guest?
We got R2-D2 joining us today.
Oh man, and we know why he's joining us.
For Disney's
Star Wars, The Rise of Skywalker. The concluding chapter. Which once had two other concluding chapters.
Yes, it just keeps on ending.
But you know what I mean. This is really the last one. At least that's what Disney says.
The ending of the Skywalker saga. It's the ending. It's it. But then on the blue carpet during the world premiere,
yes,
Kathleen Kennedy even just said, "Well, you never know."
Never say never.
So never
if
say
we
never.
learned anything in the world of entertainment, never say ever. Never. Because in 5 years, when the Star Wars thing could be burnt out, they're like, "Hey,
you know what we should do?
You know what we should do, man?
Skywalker.
If you miss that green guy, what was his name? They had that little one that got really famous. We should make a movie on one of them." Anyway, the 1977, many kids went with their parents to watch Star Wars:
A New Hope.
A movie that would literally change the way that sci-fi cinema was seen, literally changing the way that we interacted with a medium such as film in terms of pop culture, toys, franchising, licensing. Star Wars changed the game in a lot of ways. So to see all of these different, and what's really cool about them too is that they're very much like a time capsule, because we have these three generations of Star Wars now. We have the original trilogy, we have the trilogy that came up when we were younger, 1, 2, and 3, and then now we have this, which now people like my friends are bringing their kids. I don't have kids yet, but it is definitely kind of passing that time. I've loved, unlike some people, everything that Disney has done with the Star Wars
Force Awakens
franchise. Force Awakens came out, and me and you did our review right down there when we were insane. We just didn't know what was coming. And it became a movie that you and I loved and talked about frequently. Last Jedi came.
Awesome.
And there was this huge divide, and all these people were arguing, but me and you, once again, in unison, loved The Last Jedi.
Rogue One was awesome.
Rogue One.
Solo was awesome.
Again, a movie that we dearly loved, where there was a lot of kind of controversy around that. So going into this, and everything that the Star Wars lore has, well, Disney's version of the Star Wars lore has done, has pretty much done everything in terms of recharging my passion for Star Wars. Because as a kid, of course, I watched 4, 5, and 6. I had the VHSs, but as a young kid, I was watching it more for the lightsaber battles and not for the
story.
Pertains that Star Wars is. And then, of course, even when I was younger in 2000, when we had the new 3, those were very political and kind of big thinking, and still they never really hit me on an emotional chord. And it wasn't until going back and revisiting as I've gotten deeper into cinema, going back to the old Star Wars and finding kind of a passion for them. But I'm still not a Star Wars fan. I would never put myself in that category. Not that it's a bad thing, but just because I don't have that diehard, like, Star Wars is a part of my life. They're just a film series that I deeply care about. But what Disney has done is turned me into a fan and someone that is way more into that world and that lore than I would have been otherwise. And I mean, you being someone who loves the original, the 1, 2, and 3, episodes 1, 2, and 3.
I grew up with those.
Yeah, and you were big fans of those. And then obviously going back and doing all your Star Wars research to catch you up. And then you've also liked these though, right?
7, 8, Rogue, Solo, I'm all in.
So me and you both walked in, high anticipation, loving everything that Disney's done.
Very sad though to see it premiere as Run.
Yeah, a lot of kind of weird reviews and criticisms. A lot of it has been, well, yeah, it feels very passive. So it's very interesting to kind of see what Twitter is saying about this movie.
Yeah, because 8, all the critics loved it. Fans hated it.
Yeah, it was a movie, and that was kind of tough because it became this divide in fandom where it was their Star Wars versus our Star Wars, and there was this kind of whole split in the whole.
And this one came out rotten from the critics, but it's fresh with audience.
Which it's still Thursday night, so who knows what could change too. But I'm not worried about the rest of the world. I'm worried about Mr. James Hsu thinks of The Rise of Skywalker.
I thought it was great. I can't say I loved it. But I thought it was great, dog. I really enjoyed myself.
And real quick, we're not going to get into spoilers. We will eventually, I'm sure, but not right now. We won't.
We'll do that in an hour and 10 minutes.
Hour and 50 minutes.
No, I really enjoyed myself. Yeah, I liked it. There was nothing. I don't understand the negativity, to be honest with you. I personally don't understand it. I'm just happy they're making these movies. While I'll say that this wasn't my favorite of the three, I don't know if I want to say I loved it, but I really enjoyed myself.
Yeah. But there obviously that means that there is something between those the previous two films or the last 4 films that they've done in this one. Can you pinpoint what it was that made you not love it?
Yeah, I don't know that. Maybe I need to see it again, and maybe I'll actually change my tune.
Yeah.
Who knows? I don't know. All I know is that I had a lot of fun. I love seeing Daisy Ridley as Rey. I just like seeing her as Rey. So this is probably one of those things where they could just keep on making these films with her if they were gonna do that, and I would enjoy them.
Yeah.
I had a lot of fun. Kylo, I know he's your favorite character. He's always been annoying to me.
And you're not in a minority thinking.
The whining, and then like 7, he's like destroying his own ship. It's like that was always a little annoying to me. Get into that. To be honest, that was always a little annoying to me. But overall, I really enjoyed this. The score was awesome. I liked it because it was just a big adventure where they're all together the whole time. And seeing Chewie and R2-D2. R2-D2 actually had a very small role this time. C-3PO had a bigger role in this one.
A lot of people kind of got thrown to the sidelines, I thought. I thought that...
Kelly Marie Tran, what's her name?
Rose,
yeah. Rose's character was thrown to the side, but the reality is you have 2.5 hours, 2:20 or whatever it is. You can only fit so much story, and you kind of have to just pick and choose who you're really going to focus on, and I really enjoyed myself. I liked it a lot. I'm gonna recommend it for everyone to watch it. I'm gonna watch it again.
You're a fan all the way.
Yeah, I liked it. There wasn't anything I didn't like.
Okay, but can we can we get a little bit deeper with that though? Like, if you had to rank them, where does this fall with the new? Not yet.
Let me let me at least watch it at least one more time to
So unfortunately, I don't have the same sentiment towards this movie. It could be for numerous reasons. I think part of me. It's very rare. Even as it's sad to say, but it's so rare that I get really excited for a big movie, and this was a movie that I really had high expectations for, just because of how much I fell in love with these other films. So I went in really wanting something special, and for me, I think it wasn't a matter of it being a bad movie or Disney really kind of like letting everything fall apart, but I just felt like this movie was such a surface checkmark reaction to Last Jedi, and I think for me, where it's going to kind of line up, as we were pointing out, is that there was really this divide of everyone who kind of felt that Rian Johnson's direction of Star Wars and Last Jedi, and then J.J. Abrams, and I think for me, I took the Rian Johnson side, where he started so much in The Last Jedi and brought so much depth to these stories and emotions, and I felt this movie was a step backwards and just going back to the surface. I think every emotional depth and meaningful thing that happens in Last Jedi is a journey where you have to take these moments in, where everything that happens in this movie is like this. And it, like you said, well guys, we've made 8 movies, we have millions of fans, we have 2.5 hours, let's stick as much stuff as we can in here. And for me, I think that equals lack of depth, lack of story. I think it put behind a lot of storylines that were started and things that were started, Rose being a big one of them. You could say that you only have 2 hours, you have to pick and choose, but then don't invest a whole storyline in her in a previous movie and create a whole relationship and this meaningful storyline and then literally go nowhere with it. To me, that is a prime example of why this movie let me down, because it opened up those doors. I think even the relationship between Kylo and Rey, the way that The Last Jedi ends and how it's presented in this movie doesn't feel... it doesn't resonate as much. I think for me that they were trying, like you said, and it also, and I want to reiterate, not in a bad way where it's an unwatchable or unenjoyable movie. It's just, it turned into why I didn't get into Star Wars in the first place. And I think what obviously I connected with, Last Jedi and what Rian Johnson was doing was just where he was going with the characters, and I felt like this one was a backtrack. Obviously, a lot of people felt that Rian Johnson's Last Jedi was a backtrack of what J.J. Abrams was doing in The Force Awakens, but I really enjoyed The Force Awakens, and I thought there was more depth in that too, and I just felt like here we were kind of hitting checkpoints. There are a few moments in the movie that I think that I did emotionally resonate with and that are really strong, but then there are parts in the movie that I thought should have blown me away as not only a Star Wars fan, but a movie watcher, and I thought it was really underwhelming and not very well executed. I do think the movie's fun. I did check my watch though. So even in this adventure, I felt like we were kind of treading time because eventually we're just hitting those check marks. I've always I just imagine when you're playing like those World of Warcraft or these other games where you have these lists of tasks and you just have to hit those boxes. I felt like we were doing that a lot in the movie, and we were just wrapping up storylines, bringing back characters, and just checking the boxes. What other Star Wars reference can we do? And I think with that came the loss of this really emotional, deep story that we had in Last Jedi. Totally disagree with me.
Yeah, I don't agree with anything you said.
That's fair. That's fair. But even with the rose, I don't want to get into anything too specific because anything in this world, I guess, can be considered a spoiler to some degree. I agree with you. I think the score was good. I think there are some additional characters in the movie. Unfortunately, I don't think any worth really noting. Actually, I don't even know if really are any worth mentioning because I can't remember their name because any characters really introduced in this movie didn't stand out or have a particular, presence. So for me, I felt like the ending of this journey was fine. It could have been so much more, it felt like, and it just felt like we just needed to get it over with, so let's just do it. I'm sure I am curious to see what the consensus is because you and I walked out of Last Jedi very confused at like the general reaction to that movie. So I'm kind of interested in to hear what everyone feels about this, and because we've talked about like how there's this huge divide, and it seems like people are more okay with this movie but still don't love it, and they're all kind of on the fence. And most of these reviews are always it's good but or I liked it but, and I just kind of want to feel out the general feeling for everyone on this movie because I really wanted to love everything about it, and I think the trouble with it at first is that it doesn't have a rhythm. I think we jump from things way too quickly, where in Last Jedi, like I said, we had to marinate in a lot of moments. In this movie, I think in the beginning at least, we never kind of catch the rhythm of where we're trying to go and what kind of story we're trying to tell. And we just start hitting those check marks, and I think that's really where it went down for me. So, score was good though. Visual effects, all of the things that you expect from the Star Wars movie. I think it lacked comedy more than the previous two films. There was one aspect of the newer Star Wars that I thought was, kind of pushing the limits of jokes, especially like jokes. Last Jedi. But I wasn't complaining. Where this movie felt like there really wasn't much humor here, but it also didn't feel like there was much other emotion. Like I said, it feels very monotone. So I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I could say. I don't think there's a lightsaber battle in this movie that changes the game or stands out. I don't think that pushes the boundaries or gave me something. Actually, the one main kind of lightsaber battle that I think of feels sort of rushed, and it's in a situation where you kind of feel it's just being thrown together. Those are all the aspects that you kind of want, and even the air fight towards the end of the film. I get it, but your emotions just aren't there.
What's your air fight?
The final big concluding air fight. I think it's something that looks spectacular, but there's not.
What's the air fight?
While they're fighting in the air or in the space, like in the ships.
Oh.
Actually in the air.
Oh, I thought you. Oh, okay. What are you talking about?
Yeah, no, the actual ships and stuff. So, I don't know. I don't want to say anything, and I'm sure you want to get spoiled. Is there anything that you want to tack on before we get into?
No, probably just some of the things you talked about, but then I think if I talk about spoilers.
Okay, so we both recommend this movie. This would probably be my least favorite of the new trilogy, I would think. But I, like Hsu, will probably watch this again.
I need to watch it again.
But my urgency to watch it again, yeah. So I don't know, but yeah, a little disappointed here. But we're gonna get into spoilers, so be ready. If you don't want to know anything, don't watch anymore. If you don't care, well then let's go on the journey because I'm sure there's a lot to talk about.
So the Kelly Marie Tran thing you're talking about?
Yes.
What are you talking about?
So well, and I think that kind of
she's
goes...
like beyond size. She's like, to me, she's always C character. In the Rolodex, there's A, Rey, and all that. Yeah, she was like C to me.
You could say that there's 3 stories in Last Jedi, right? There's 3 storylines going on. You have Rey and Kylo. Mm-hmm. You have Finn and Rose. And then you have Poe and Leia. Those are the 3 storylines that we have. In every storyline, I thought lost depth in this movie. Mainly, like insanely, Rose and Finn. So Finn is this really interesting character concept that we're really never introduced to before. A stormtrooper that decides to run off and decides to turn. And we have all these interesting questions to ask this character, but we're never able to ask because he's immediately thrown into this war and on another side now. And in Last Jedi, a lot of people have issues with what happens to him and Rose in Last Jedi and the casino planet and all those things, where I didn't, because I felt that was really important for the Finn character, because he really needed to realize what his life was like before.
Rose.
Yeah. Well,
I'm talking about Rose.
Well, Finn. No, this is more Finn. But in order to bring that out of Finn, Rose was that answer. For Last Jedi, Finn had to go on this journey and find his place, and Rose was the one that was bringing him back and telling him where he belonged. So much so at the end, she literally moves him out of danger, saves his life, and reminds him what his place is. And we talked about this kind of in depth in our review of Last Jedi, because why do we have this sort of important character? I'm going to forget her name. Phantasma? Right?
Captain Phasma.
Captain Phasma. Finn has this big moment where he's like, I'm not one of you, and we're trying to reach this character to realize what his place is. And Rose is such a pinnacle aspect of that, and then in this movie she's just on the sidelines. So then Finn's just good. Finn's just fine. Poe and Leia, they obviously have their deal where Leia, of course, is going to pass the resistance on to Poe, or at least the leadership. And that really, they don't really have their moment that they kind of need, and obviously there are reasons for that, and that makes it quite tough. But I felt like what they did do with Leia, for me, besides this one
that's
scene,
stupid to me. They can only do so much.
No, and that's fair.
But you're picking on it.
No, but I'm picking on how that character reacts and what Poe goes through and what his arc is. See, if you disregard that, I'm not going to say that the movie is not good because they couldn't have a Leia and Poe moment. But Poe needs to reflect on that relationship more, and I think just saying that, oh, she left you the reins, isn't enough for that concluding
what could they have done?
What they could have done is, unfortunately not what I'm supposed to figure out, but I just felt that really lacked a solution, and that really didn't feel like a good concluding moment for me.
I thought they did the best they could with what they had.
In that regard?
With what you're talking about right now, Poe and Princess Leia.
Well, I don't need Leia's aspect to be, but Poe's change and Poe's really kind of coming into his own doesn't really happen the way that it needs to in this movie. I felt like that moment isn't as earned. And I know that is tough, because I'm sure where we were going was like Leia actually talking with Poe and having that moment, but I don't necessarily need that moment. Of course, it would have been wonderful, but I think we at least needed this moment of acceptance where Poe kind of has this something to kind of connect us, to bring us back to that, and I don't think it's there. And then Kylo and Rey, the emotional attachment that they have. I love the idea is so physical that they could actually trade physical. Like their emotional and mental connection is so strong that they could actually trade physical properties. I thought that was awesome, but I never feel like there's never that moment that was as deep as the moment where she sees him without a shirt for the first time and she realizes she's attracted to him in Last Jedi. And I know I'm going back to Last Jedi a lot, but I think that it's kind of necessary for me to kind of pick my issues with this movie. But yeah, I don't have much to complain about in that regard of Kylo and Rey, but I don't feel like it's as deep. Where should we go now?
No, you said John Williams is in the film.
John Williams,
and I know who you're talking about too, but I didn't realize.
I can't even remember the specific part.
No, I know you're talking about.
But there is this part where like all of a sudden,
guy.
You see this old guy in
and it was on him for a good
amount of time for
maybe
you to go.
2-3
this
seconds,
is someone.
Yeah.
We have a couple cameos. You know, we have
Harrison Ford.
Yeah.
I can't believe they were able to get him back, honestly, because he's kept on saying, "I'm done. I don't want to do anymore. Just kill me, and we're done."
So for me, by far the best part of the entire film. I think that was the one scene that like really emotionally resonated with me. We really needed it. We obviously needed to see Kylo avenge the death of his father, and he really doesn't get to do the opportunity the way that you think. You think like, okay, this man, you know, put a saber in his father, and he's gonna have to put a saber in some evil. But he doesn't avenge his father that way. He avenges him in a much more
You know how you're asking me what I didn't like?
Yeah.
I don't know why they didn't have Anakin. Force Ghost helping Rey,
that's actually a very good point.
taking over for I literally thought, okay, now that Kylo's knocked out and Rey's knocked out, I literally thought Force Ghosts were about to start appearing and Anakin was going to take down Palpatine, because like that's always been the whole thing in 4, 5, 6 was, or I guess 1, 2, 3 was always about the raising of. It's always been he's the chosen one. That's like they've stuck to that this whole time. That's all this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 was. So I could have swore.
And what's even more fascinating is that you kind of find out in this movie that it doesn't matter because no Skywalker was powerful enough to do anything.
Yeah, it was Rey. You know, so
Skywalker's literally accomplished nothing.
Man, yeah. So
because Anakin failed to kill off Palpatine. Luke failed to do the right thing. Rey failed to kill. Rey's the only one that actually. Not Rey. Kylo fails to kill. The only one that is able to do it is Rey, and she's not a Skywalker. Though she claims hereditary at the end, which, even that.
Oh, that didn't bother me. Why does that bother you?
It didn't bother me. I just would have liked if she didn't.
That's the face that's bothered.
Yeah, because I just thought it would have been better if she didn't say it. She didn't need to say it. Like, everyone knew she was going to say it. Like, for me, but then, because I was like, that's where you end it, before she says Skywalker. But then they do the dual sons. I was like, okay. Because I would have cut that. I would have cut right before she said Skywalker. Because I thought at that point, So Rey's, for me, the whole Palpatine thing just, it was fine. Did I feel like the Emperor was, this? It's not. There's no reveal because we're told in the trailer. No explanation either on how he survived the fall and the explosion. And I didn't really like the whole setup. It felt very Harry Potter to me. The ending feels kind of like the ending of like Voldemort with the Death Eaters. And I was just like, man, this is not what I envisioned the Sith, like this whole Sith army. And like, I like the idea that like the Sith army, like obviously the Sith, all this, just like the Force, it's a balance. So all of that has to go through you. I like that aspect, but just the visual aspects of it and just kind of the whole rope. I mean, I get it because this is also the movie that put spider legs on Darth Maul, but there's just something weird about kind of seeing the Emperor like attach this really huge thing.
No, I agree.
It didn't look or feel very. And that's the thing is that the entire movie he never feels like a real demolishing threat. So yeah, there's that.
So see, that's probably stuff that made it from me not loving it to just saying I enjoyed it. Was that like I felt that he wasn't great
because then the whole thing being that Rey is related to him just didn't feel like it mattered. Because for me, I mean, the message that any good can defeat the worst evil is a beautiful thing to think about. That even the good in anyone, even a random forgotten child, can stop the world's like greatest evil. But nope, you have to be related to the greatest evil to destroy the greatest evil. For me, it just kind of harked back to all the things that I was falling in love with, and I think that was, and for me, that just the whole entire thing of we have to make her someone, we have to connect her. It doesn't pay off. It doesn't feel like it's this great revelation moment. Even when they say it, it doesn't feel like. And that was another problem for me. Just the movie never felt like it had any big moments. I mean, the Princess Leia, that just felt so quick and so. I mean, granted, I loved the idea of what was happening in that scene. I just didn't feel like. Execution-wise, like of her having to get Ben's attention, so for him to look. I mean, because I think that's an interesting way to look at that too. I was curious, like, am I supposed to think that Leia's intention was to have her son killed, or she knew that Rey would save him, and like the only way that he could do this is realizing that Rey is that good. So I love that, the concept of it, but it feels like such a rushed moment. The way that and then the Kylo disappearing, I didn't like either. At the very end, again the sentiment, just didn't like how it looked. And while I study
part 4 or 5, all of them, they always disappear like that.
No, I know. I'm just visually how it looked. Just like the way that Kylo kind of went, like almost how what's his name was more like disintegrating than actually just I don't know. It just didn't have that same, like the ending of Luke just kind of going into the fade, and then just kind of I just didn't like the look. So that's more of me just being nitpicky on the shot style.
You just
on the shot style. No. But I don't feel. I felt that concept is beautiful, but I think it was something that wasn't executed as well as it should have been. I don't think that moment where Leia lets go, and I think because I have that question of why Leia did what she did or what she was doing, I think that was something that they could have. I think that's something that could have been explored more. I'm trying to think what else, but for me, bar none, even the idea that. She gives Kylo a second chance, shows him what good people could do. Nothing prepared me for Adam Driver to face Han Solo. And I think for me, it was the emotional
that was a great
high of the movie.
That was out of nowhere.
Because I figured we were going to see Luke again. And I didn't think so. I didn't know if we needed to.
I didn't think so. I didn't think we were going to get him back. So that was nice.
So for me, and obviously there's some questions to that too, I'm sure, in terms of lore, because Solo's not a Jedi, so he can't be a Force ghost. So that's literally more Kylo.
Well, Kylo did say it's all in his head.
Yeah.
They said that.
Conjuring him up. And
I feel like that was a missed opportunity. They should have had Hayden Christensen come back as Anakin.
Oh, I feel like that. I think you would have stepped on a lot of toes doing that. Just the way that people handled him in general, and I just think that would have been, and that's not even like critically. I just think that's me. That's chasing talking issue where I'm like, business wise. I think people.
No, but I think a lot of people, all the people who hated the prequels aren't as hated as they were. I feel that way. They aren't hated like they were. Like people hated them.
Well, that's because the new ones came. Because like when I was a kid. There was one trilogy, and it was 4, 5, and 6, and they didn't like 1, 2, and 3.
Yes.
And then when 7, 8 said, they're like, fine, we'll take those, but we're not taking those. That's how I kind of saw it. They were like the lesser of two evils.
I feel people don't hate him as much.
And that could be very true. And a lot of people talk about 3 and how 3 was a big changer for them, and what, Anakin's turn. We hear that all the time.
But at the time, it wasn't like that.
No, you're right. They weren't. People weren't fans of those. But that's the thing, though. Time plays a big difference in that, too. People could really look back at these movies very differently in the next
we always
5
do that.
years. Yeah,
we always do that.
But, I think that I don't think anything... like, in The Last Jedi, I can think of 3, 4, 5, 6 moments that was just like... when Luke sees R2 again. When Luke and Leia reunite. The only time I felt like that strong of an emotional thing was when Han appears. And, he says, Dad. He says, Dad. And Han, of course. I know. Like, that is such a beautiful moment. And such a great use of the line and the reference. To me, that's where you needed to be. And then you have, Luke's return. And I just did not like that at all. And and again, I think it becomes part of the look, too. I thought the way that they introduced him was kind of cheesy. Like, grabbing the saber and stopping it from the fire. And then there's this weird-looking, kind of disorienting shot of him walking through flames. And then he's, the best-looking Force ghost ever, where he looks like he's just kind of sitting there. It's not. They don't even give him the real big... he's blue, but they don't really kind of give him that ghostly feel. And I just don't know if he embarked more... knowledge or impending than he would have at the end of where he was at Last Jedi. So while I felt it was coming, I didn't think it was necessary. But for me, I thought Yoda. But I do think, and I'm surprised I didn't even think about it, why they would never bring Darth Vader back or Anakin back to communicate with Ben.
I'm shocked. Honestly, I'm so surprised that they didn't. They had Hayden's voice and I heard Samuel Jackson's voice.
Yeah, there is a point where they all come.
I think those are the only two I automatically. Was there Obi-Wan?
Did you? James Earl Jones was in it. James Earl Jones.
Yeah, Darth. Yeah, I couldn't name everyone. Yeah, but I definitely assumed that.
I'm sure Obi-Wan still was in there somewhere. Yeah. I just didn't recognize it.
So yeah, I'm trying to think of other moments.
You know who I really liked too? Carrie Russell's character.
Okay.
She was pretty cool.
So, and that was the thing, right? So then Finn finds a group of people that are very similar to him, and that kind of really goes back to everyone just figuring out what they have to do and just kind of checking the marks and everything. You know, we got to bring Lando back because there is another moment that I had a really strong reaction to, and I was mad because the movie didn't let me, like, it was the only time the movie kind of let me observe and feel, but then it pulled me out too soon. The moment that Chewie realizes that Leia is gone was heartbreak. He literally falls to his knees after this poor creature has lost everyone that he's loved. Oh my God, that was such a I got hooked up real quick when I thought they killed Chewie. Oh yeah. See, because that's a good example for me. That was a scene that just didn't like. It felt rushed, so I didn't necessarily believe. And that was another thing too. The movie did the fake death thing like 8 times. Like they fake death Chewie. They kind of made you think C-3PO wasn't going to really remember anything, even though he remembers only sort of things now. They just kept doing like this fake out. And then
did they make it so he only remembers something?
He didn't remember everything, right? When he finally speaks, he remembers everything.
That's
towards the end.
I didn't see anything that made me not think that.
Okay.
What did you get?
I was under the impression the first thing that he says is something that's dated. So I feel. So I feel like he only remembered to a certain degree.
Yeah,
I don't think he knows.
I thought he only remembered up to where they cleared his mind. So of course he didn't remember anything after that. All the way up until then, he didn't know anything.
No, but when he first talks after R2-D2 plugs him in again, I feel like he says something that's very dated, like from 4, 5, and 6. So I think he's only able to bring back his memory to a certain. I could be wrong, really? But that was the impression that I got.
Oh, I thought
because he talks about someone that's not around
anymore. No, it was dated, but I thought it was only up to when they cleared his mind.
I'm not sure. I can't confirm or deny. I could be completely wrong. So, but yeah, and then like bringing Lando back, I didn't feel like there was much there for me with that either. Besides the fact that you need to stick Chewie somewhere. What is Chewie gonna do? And it, like you said, it feels like this adventure where you're sticking all these characters together. Unfortunately, the last movie just kind of puts their storylines apart. And I think in order to throw them all together, you just have to give them these lists of things, and we just kind of do them all. And it's of course finding a map to go to a planet and. I just wish that there was more emotion there. I just didn't feel as much as I did Last Jedi. And I think that's really what it boils down to. I'm trying to think.
I thought we were going to get Darth Maul, too. I thought at the ending...
Well, Darth Maul's dead at this point, right?
Yeah, but I thought you were about to see, like, Palpatine, like, just... I thought we were going to get Snoke, another look at Snoke, because you saw Snoke in the tubs.
Yeah.
The tubes?
Yeah, and then the very beginning where you have like...
So I thought, I was like, oh, dude, this ending is going to be crazy, dude. They're going to, like, do it Endgame style. Where...
Did you feel the ending? Like, did you like the lightsaber duels or, like, the way that everything kind of goes
No, but
down?
I think now that we're talking, I think that's why I am not saying I loved the movie. It's because I felt like the action beats weren't...
strong.
Just like...
Yeah. Not like the one where Rey and him get together.
And then...
I hate to bring Last Jedi.
And then the Palpatine, I wanted more.
Yeah, I just didn't get the whole, But I mean, that reminded me of the Chewie thing. But that was another scene that I just felt like happened too quick, and it just didn't feel
death?
like. Yeah, well, like the whole, like immediately, like let's get into the, like being able to throw someone and then literally able to control a ship to show the advancement of power. But that whole let's pull the ship, it just didn't feel.
Oh, I liked it. I loved it.
And then
you're talking about Ray and Adam Driver.
Yeah, I think.
I liked it.
I think timing. I think the way that whole scene is edited, it just didn't. It felt like I knew what was happening. It just didn't feel like things were really happening. Like I didn't believe most things that were happening in the movie, like the characters' deaths and things like that, because everything was just passing so quickly. So when we hit that middle point in the movie where you have that epic, well, not epic, but the lightsaber battle on the ship.
In the water?
Yeah, and then you actually have like that major changing moment. It's the only scene that kind of slows down and let you take it in, but even that, I feel like Leia's letting go, and I did think it was beautiful that they didn't actually let her body go until the end with Kylo. But you know, it just all happened so quickly. You don't really get that moment, I don't think, where I felt like Last Jedi, like I said, you just marinate a lot more of those moments. And then the ending, you know, it's just kind of happiness, and Rey goes on to her new journey. I think it would just work so much better for me, and with that theme that second one was going for. But I get it, you know. Disney was in a very tough place. I'm not excusing it, obviously, but I mean, we've come to this.
You know what the reality is, Chasing?
What?
No matter what they would have done with 7, 8, and 9, just the fact that they're bringing these old characters back, you're never gonna make people happy.
No, well, I mean, you're always going to have to kind of, anytime you make anything that's art, you have to kind of deal with criticism, but...
No, this specifically, though. You can't compete with people who have been in love with these specific characters for like 40 years. You ain't gonna make them happy. But Bob Iger said on the blue carpet, he specifically said the next one is the most important one, and he's right. Because this next one will have nothing to do with no Skywalkers, nothing. It'll be literally a clear slate.
Yeah.
And he's right, though. It will literally be the most important one, because if people watch whatever this next one is and they don't like it, they're in trouble.
It's tough, too, because...
But now there's no old baggage.
But see...
7 baggage.
But that's the problem, though, is the only reason why there's baggage is because movie operators and studios and things only see baggage as an opportunity to make money. You know, they don't want to just make a fresh new Star Wars movie because there's so much money to be made, you know, with those other characters and with that lore. And that's why we have movies like Scoob coming out, and like Cats and Sonic the Hedgehog and a third Kingsman. And
Cats opened at 14%.
Don't even let's not get started on Cats.
They opened at 14%.
Let's not get distracted. Don't get me distracted.
14%.
But you know what I mean? Like, we're really dependent on that, though. So, like, for me, I've always said, you know, I'm always down for the original movie, because I want, at the end of the day, as a critic, I just want artists to do their thing and tell their stories and get their messages out. And unfortunately, because the movie industry has become such a business-heavy industry, and obviously thrives on it being just like the music industry, you know, you have a lot of people who interfere.
All industries?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think, like, for instance, painting and like some other art forms, you have a little bit more leeway, where the industry's not like, well, we have to make this $800 million budget. We need to feed to all the masses. You know, where, like, you have some painters who, you know, paint generic stuff that you could sell at, like, Target. But, you know, so a lot of people interfere with that artist's vision, and I always do my best to just kind of see what that vision was. And for me, because we just kept going back and forth, I felt like we had to please too many palates, and we went in a very safe route. So when people say Rise of Skywalker is fan service, I agree with them, because that's what it feels like. It feels like we're just checking those boxes, giving everyone their happy. Their
At least
smiley
Chewie
sticker.
got his medal.
That scene, man, that broke my heart. That broke my heart when he fell to his knees and he found out late. I was like, wow. Because Chewie is this character that, you know, very much like C-3PO and R2-D2 are just kind of these stagnant characters, usually meant for comedic moments or silly moments. And both times now, he's like made me so emotional when he sees Solo get shot, and then when he hears that Leia has died. It's just so sad. I'm sure there are other things I want to talk about in this movie that... another example of them starting something up, though, and just kind of throwing it away is Domhnall Gleeson's character, General Hux. I mean, we open all these doors. And, and to go back to Kylo Ren, and you were saying, you know, he was destroying his own ship at the end. He was going crazy. I mean, this idea of destroying it all and leaving all this in the past, there's this whole entire, you know, theme of him trying to tell Rey that the future is not dark or light. It is this erasing of all of that, and that isn't really present here. Kylo is going, of course, back to be the evil guy, and I feel like that journey is a tough one to take, because where we end in that last movie, you have him taking back the First Order, becoming, you know, the leader of that, General Hux kind of being, you know, very nervous of him, and now Hux is the spy just because he doesn't want Kylo. That to me is all kind of like, I don't know. These are characters and stories that they opened and they didn't know how to close, and they just had to just write stuff, and that's how it feels sometimes. And I think that's a perfect example. Like, that character is brought in and like made such an important aspect, and then he's just thrown away and just as a side character in this movie. But I love Richard E. Grant, and I couldn't be happier that Richard E. Grant got a great role, because I thought he was really good in the movie as the other, you know, evil general. But
evil general.
Yeah, evil general. And they had there was a lot of homages, of course. You know, there was the classic, you know, moment where Richard E. Grant looks towards the stars, and all you see are the light right on his eyes, because of course he's on the dark side, and all these little great homages. But again,
I missed that. That's
like
cool.
Those beautiful emotional moments that we got. So, I liked the film. It's fine, but I think for me, I just wanted to love it so much more, and I thought there was just so much more opportunity here.
I give it like a 7.5 out of 10.
7.5 out of 10. I want 7. You gave Last Jedi what? A 9?
Probably Probably like an 8.5.
Okay.
I mean, we have it on video. Maybe I said 9.
Yeah.
But now, 2 years later, has it been 2 years?
2 years.
2 years later, probably I'll give that one like an 8.
Okay.
8.5. It's a great film.
I think it's a solid.
I enjoyed this too.
I think this is a solid film for me.
I'm just glad they're making movies or Star Wars films.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just happy. I'm happy.
See, I just want good films. I don't care what they are. I can make better films.
Well, yeah, but we're talking about Star Wars.
I know. And unfortunately, they had magic with the first two, and this one, I just think they lost sight of it. But again, you get to a point in your life where you have so many people, so many things. It's tough to keep a vision. I'm curious what the fanboys think. And I don't mean to say fanboys, I'm going to disregard it, but there was such a backlash for Last Jedi. If this is what they wanted instead, I just have so many questions.
Well,
and I think because part of it was that me and you have had so many arguments with people about Last Jedi and defending those movies. And I think part of it was that I was so emotionally invested with what Last Jedi was doing, what those movies were doing, and I stood by those because I appreciated the themes and depth of those characters, that when it was taken away here, I feel cheated. Like I'm sure many fans did when Rian Johnson took away the world that they wanted. So I guess fair is fair.
To me, you sound like them.
That's fair.
Yeah, you sound like them to me.
That could be fair, and that's probably a fair assessment because of how much I brought in Last Jedi. But at the same time, those are the story arcs that we have to pick up from, regardless of who directed it. That is where those characters are. And if I feel like those characters made a change or just became that much flat, I just feel like the characters became flat. Like most of them, they took back, they made them flat, and they didn't give them the strength that they once had. So, even if that's the case, for me, that harms the characters, that harms the story, that harms my emotion in the story, and my stake in how much I care.
People were saying D.O. is better than BB-8.
You're tripping.
No, he's not.
Tripping, B.
People were saying that.
The no thank you? Right?
Yeah.
J.J. Abrams.
Yeah, they were saying that character is better than BB-8. I was like, no.
No. Because there's, what is that, I couldn't, that character is there, but it just feels like he's thrown in, right? What new character were you said Carrie Russell.
I like Carrie Russell's. I would love to see what they do in their world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, again, I'm hoping whatever the new Star Wars world takes us, it's exciting and it's fresh and it's original. For me, I don't know, anything that people love this much, it's hard to kind of end on a note. But I think all of us can agree that seeing Luke and Leia kind of look onto their legacy is a beautiful moment. And of course, as she looks at the one thing that changed Luke's whole entire perspective on the world is getting away from those two suns, only makes sense that we bring him back to the two suns and bring the Force back in balance. So
back in Tatooine.
yeah, Tatooine of all places.
Gotta do it.
Gotta do it.
That was our last premiere of 2019.
Yeah.
Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker.
I'm glad it ended
Unfortunately for you, it didn't rise.
It did not rise, but I am glad that. And really quick before we go, and the only other thing I think that kind of irked me about giving her that moment at the end is because having Rey say Skywalker is because the real rise of Skywalker was Kylo. For me, that was Kylo. He was the one that rose.
Yeah, and
he literally did have to rise out of this pole to give life.
Yeah,
to
but
Rey.
You can't.
The rise of the Skywalker.
He's not redeemable, bro.
Oh, I disagree.
He killed his. No, there's people that are so in love with Harrison Ford's Han Solo.
So you don't think Kylo redeemed his storyline?
Oh no, you had to kill him though.
Yeah,
he had to disappear. Yeah, that's what you're saying.
Yeah. Well, no, he had to give life. He had to. He did that. Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying.
No, but he's not redeemed. It's not. You can't have him live at the end of the movie.
No. I'm not saying that. I mean rise literally as just like a character trait. Like there was the rise of Skywalker, right? Like Ben changed and became this person. We saw him
He
rise.
did his part.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So for me, because the real rise was of Kylo, not necessarily Rey. Because I think like saying, the Rise of Skywalker was the rise of Rey being the Skywalker. Remember, because we were talking, like, what's the Rise of Skywalker? For me, it's more Kylo's change and his change. That also, oh man, that was dope. But still didn't give us a fight nearly as cool. Anyway, I could go on forever, and I don't want to keep you much longer. It is 4 a.m. in the morning.
We don't play games.
No, not at all.
All right, guys. We'll see everybody back
Yeah, well,
in 2020.
Yeah, as you know, beginning of the year, we welcome every year with listing our top 10 favorite films of the year. So that's to come, and then we're going to start the year fresh and go through this all over again. Like we haven't done it for the past 7 years.
I'm sad we're not going to get in a Star Wars film for minimum 3 years.
Minimum 3 years.
Minimum.
Okay, so I thought it was 5, but
No, I mean, yeah, it might be. I was just saying the bare minimum that is guaranteed is 3. You know, because I'm sure they're working on some story treatments already.
I want an animated Star Wars movie, like a really good animated Star Wars film. Like Rebels. Did you watch Rebels or did you watch
Clone Wars? No.
Yeah, neither did I, but I'm intrigued by what you could do with that.
Because of Spider-Verse?
Because of Spider-Verse. Well, even Pixar. You give Pixar a story. I mean, like, if you combine them, Lucasfilm and Pixar, tell me they're going to get something sick.
Yeah, I'd rather have live action, though.
Well, what's to be a surprise? Me and you disagreeing at the end of the year. Just like we're going to be disagreeing at the beginning of the year because we're back in January here at AMC Town Square where you always find us. But until then, you could follow us on our social media platforms and all the things that we do on our website.
Jacob Tiranno.
Yeah.
HSCM James.
ChasingCinema.com. James. You can text this guy for all these cool events. We're going to be out tomorrow at the Boathouse just doing all that stuff. So make sure to text this guy, 702-345-618. Yeah, and let us know. Anytime you want to come to the movies, we're going to be here talking about it. And I want to hear your Star Wars feedback. Comment below this time. Take advantage of that.
Yeah, I'm curious what people... We'll see in the next, week.
Yeah,
is when it'll all be over.
We'll hear real quick.
Yeah. Chasing Cinema comes on next?
The Film Lovers website.